Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Hamilton. We welcome you here in the sanctuary and also those who have opted to join us online. We ask that you turn off your cell phones during worship unless, of course, you're using our loop hearing system. My name is Sue Stewart Green. My pronouns are she, her, and I am your service leader today. If you have an order of service printed out, which I often do, or you checked out the service in line, you will notice that I am not the Reverend Danny Weber. Our beloved minister is still recovering from that nasty flu, the one that hangs on, it seems like forever. Reverend Danny has an excellent work ethic and was worried about missing yet another Sunday, but your church leaders have impressed upon Danny the importance of rest for recovery to carry out the important work of supporting our congregation. It's a big job looking after us, and we are sending at this time now love and healing your way, Danny. Our music ministers today are our own Beverly Horton and Rachel Derry. It takes many folks to put together a Sunday service. Many are behind the scenes, but please note your ushers, worship assistants, hospitality, and AV techs, and acknowledge them silently or take a moment at the end of worship to thank them in person. Our guest today is Liz James, right here. Perhaps you went online to research the UU Hysterical Society. Liz began preaching and leading worship 20 years ago as a growth consultant for the CUC, the Canadian Unitarian Council. 10 years ago, she founded the UU Hysterical Society, now a 270,000-person humor group on Facebook. Liz believes in a UUism that is filled with meaning and joy, and that sees change as an adventure. We do have some announcements on the screen, and I'm going to ask Jenny to come up quickly. Jen, quickly for a couple of announcements.
Hello, everybody. I just wanted to share, I know it's been on the screen, but I wanted to mention we have the OWL program information meeting today at 12:30. So if you have kids, we're doing a K-1 program. In February and March, Esther and I are heading that one up. So if you know of any kids in kindergarten or grade 1 who want to come and learn about their bodies and gender and pregnancy and babies, please invite them. You can, I can email them the registration info and other information if they need it. So that's happening today. The next thing I have to say is that I have made a scavenger hunt about resilience for the kids. So if there's any kids who want to maybe get a prize, they just need to do the scavenger hunt, get the information, just bring it to me, and I can give them a little prize. And then the last thing I want to say is about Third Space Cafe. So this coming Friday, we're doing a community cooking event. That's the plan. I'm not sure what the meal is going to be yet, but stay tuned to our socials, and you will be welcome. You don't have to come and cook, but you can come and enjoy community. You can come and do something else and just hang out here, get out of the house for a little bit. Everybody is welcome, even children, and we are excited to see you there. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are in your journey of faith or search for meaning, today you are one of us, and you are so very welcome in this house of worship. Our mission is to nurture one another, serve the community, and inspire action to heal the world. We are not the first people on this land, nor will we be the last. We acknowledge our connection to the web of all existence, honoring the past and preparing for the future. The stewardship of the original people who lived here preserve this place for our generation. We seek to be respectful stewards of this place for those who follow. Please settle into your seats and enjoy our postlude, Bruce Coburn's Wondering Where the Lions Are, with Rachel and Beverly.
Might need a prelude. Otherwise, a very short service. And would love your help on this one. Your line is Wondering Where the Lions Are. Sun's up, looks okay, the world survived into another day, and I'm thinking about eternity. Some kind of ecstasy's got a hold on me.
Had another dream about the lines in the door. They weren't as half as frightening as they had before. But I'm thinking about eternity. Some kind of ecstasy got a hold on me.
Walls, window, trees, waves coming through. Will you be in me and I'll be in you, together in eternity. Some kind of ecstasy's got a hold on me.
Up among the firs where the sound is sweet, or down in the valley where the river used to be. Got my mind on eternity. Some kind of ecstasy got a hold on me. And I'm wondering where the lions are.
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 I'm wondering where the lions are.
Wondering where the lions
I'm
are.
wondering where the lions are.
Ooh. Ooh. Huge orange flying boat rises off a lake. 1,000-year-old petroglyphs doing a double take, point a finger at eternity. So I'm sitting in the middle of ecstasy. Ooh.
Young men march in helmets, stirring up the sun, polish the precise like the brain behind the gun. Thinking about eternity.
Should be.
A kind of ecstasy got a hold on me. And I'm wondering where the lions are.
Wondering where the lions are.
Wondering where the lions are. Wondering where the lions are.
Wondering where the lions are.
Wondering where
Let's
the
hear ya.
lions are.
Wondering where the lions
Wondering
are.
where the lions are.
Wondering where the lions
Oh, I'm
are.
wondering where the lions
Yeah,
are.
I'm wondering where the lions are.
Wondering where the lions are.
Wondering where the
Oh,
lions
I'm wondering
are.
where the lions are.
Wondering where the lions are. Ooh.
Freighters on the Nile, on the surface of the bay. One of these days we're gonna fly away and
Sail into eternity. Some kind of ecstasy got a hold on me.
And I'm wondering where the lions
Wondering
are.
where the lions
I'm
are.
wondering where the lions
Yeah,
are.
wondering where the lions
I'm
are.
wondering where the lions
Yeah, I'm
are.
wondering where the lions
Oh, I'm
are.
wondering where the lions are.
Wondering where the lions
I'm
are.
wondering where the lions are.
Wondering where the lions
Oh,
are.
wondering where the lions 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 are. Wondering where the lions are.
It's my pleasure to invite our guest, Liz James, as our chalice lighter. The words we're going to have for our chalice lighting were chosen by Reverend Danny. They're written by Mwibutsa Ndagijimana, a Unitarian minister in Burundi, who is imprisoned for his justice work. In my cell, a flaming chalice kept coming to me as a symbol that connected the people who were trying to help me, but also a possibility of a future despite the darkness. I visualized futures that didn't yet exist. I dreamed beyond my cell walls. My imagination became my resistance. Please join us in our chalice lighting words. May this chalice be our light of friendship and love. Thanks, Liz. Our call to worship. I've chosen these words by Bran Lennox, titled The Mysterious Pull of the Unanswerable. We have chosen to bring ourselves here to this sanctuary and online to gather as a community of faith. We join together in solidarity as a covenanted people who are drawn together by the promise of connection and the mysterious pull of the unanswerable. We draw on experience of love and wonder to lift our hearts and move us beyond the mundane. As seekers, wanderers, appreciators of nature, connoisseurs of curiosity, and creators of connection, our paths have converged today so that we might present to the Spirit that is worship. And so let us worship together. Please stand as you're able for our first hymn, number 368. Now let us sing.
So this one's kind of fun. This will bring us some energy. Now we have two parts in this hymn. We have the lower voices and the upper voices. And I have to thank John, did a great job on the slides. You'll see that the lower voices on the top line and the higher voices on the second line. Now we are going to start with the lower because you always kind of get ignored, right, with this hymn. So we're going to start with the lower voices just singing their part, and then we're going to add the higher voices. Pretty simple line. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing. Let's sing, sing, sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith. Let's do that again. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. That's good. So you ready, lower voices? You're going to start us. Upper voices are going to join. Here we go. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Lift up your voice. Be not afraid. Sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing to the power of the hope within. Sing to the power of the hope within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing. Sing of the love within. Sing to the power of the love within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to the power of the love within. Now let us sing. Power of the joy within. Sing to the power of the joy within. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Sing to. Let's do joy again. Now let us sing the power of the joy within. Sing to the power of the joy within. Sing to the power of the joy within. That was awesome.
Our story for all ages will be read by Liz James.
So if you are someone who is moving to see the pictures, I invite you to do that now because they'll be on the slides. This isn't a traditional storybook. This is a real story that actually happened. This is a story about saying something when something isn't fair, which is something you might have experienced at home or at school. I'm going to go back a little bit. Well, we might have the pictures a little out of sync. No problem. So the first picture, which is one of Unitarians marching, Maybe you've gone somewhere with a grown-up to a march or a protest or to hold a sign. Unitarian Universalists sure do like to march with signs. This is also a 100% true story of two children speaking up and how they saved a Unitarian Universalist in a faraway country. I don't know the real names of these kids, but their nicknames were Bukuru and Toyi. They were 7 and 9 years old, and they lived in a poor country in Africa called Burundi, in a hut very similar, or in a little mud hut with a grass roof. They lived in a land that was always warm and green, and they spent their days running around outside, playing and taking care of cows, which they did instead of school, which I imagine was gloriously fun. And one morning, almost 10 years ago, they were out in the fields in the middle of the day, and they saw a group of men with guns arrive in cars. And they took a very unhappy-looking guy into a hut, and they closed the door. This isn't the exact hut, but it looks very similar to this one. The man was indeed their prisoner. In fact, he was a Unitarian minister named Reverend Mwibutsa Ndagijimana. We will call him Mwibutsa. He was the minister of the Unitarian Church in Bujumbura, who had been doing exactly what so many of us here in North America do with the marching and the signs. They had seen things going on in their country, and they were saying something. They were going to demonstrations just like we do. Now, the kids didn't know any of that background church stuff, but they thought that Mwibutsa didn't look like he wanted to be there. So during their lunch, they went to the local police station, and they explained about the man in the hut. You can imagine 7 and 9 years old, how nervous they must have felt walking into a police station by themselves. The police arrived just as the men were taking Mwibutsa outside, saying they were going to kill him, and they took everyone to the station and things got sorted out. And Mwibutsa says if it weren't for those two boys saying something, he probably would not have survived that day. It wasn't easy for Mwibutsa after that day. Soon after, he was arrested and he was sent to prison. And again, people said something. Unitarian Universalists from all around the world wrote letters and made phone calls. Kids did too. And Mwibutsa knew about that because he was allowed to see copies of the petition people were signing, and he looked at the thousands of names and thought, who are these people? Why are they working to save me? At night, when he was alone and dark and scared in his cell, he would think about all those people working to protect him. And the symbol of their protection to Mwibutsa was the Flaming Chalice. Every night when he was too scared to sleep, he would imagine that Flaming Chalice in order to stay brave. In the end, we did get Mwibutsa free, and he made it to Canada as a refugee. Now he runs a charity which helps other refugees and people in Africa, and he named the charity Flaming Chalice International. The same chalice that meant people had not forgotten him years ago now means he will not forget others. It's Mwibutsa's turn to be the helper with the support of UUs from all over the world. So when you see a flaming chalice, think of the ways we're connected, like Mwibutsa does, and of Bukuru and Toyi. Because without those two kids, none of this could have happened. They did something any of us can do. They saw something and they spoke up. And now I'll invite children, if you'd like to stay in the sanctuary or to go to your classes.
Thank you, Liz. This is the time in our service for our offering. In the free faith tradition, we support and the resources of this congregation. Our gifts and donations sustain the many ministries of this church, a community we have chosen to join and to support. We will now receive our offering while we listen to our music ministers perform I Wish I Knew How by B. Taylor and D. Dallas.
To
I could share all the love in my heart. Remove all the pride that keep us apart. I wish I could know what it means to be free. Then you see and agree, everyone should be free. I wish I'd share all the longing to share. I wish I could live like I'm longing to live. I wish you could do all the things I can do, though I'm way overdue. I'd be starting anew. Could fly, I'd soar to the sun and look down at the sea. Then I'd sing, 'cause I'd know how to sing what it means to be free. 'Cause I know it feels to be free.
Thank you so much. Your gifts of support in our ministries to one another and to this community are much appreciated. In these moments of contemplation, I invite you to relax, close your eyes if you wish and feel comfortable, and breathe deeply. Following our reading, there will be a few moments of meditative silence, followed by our music ministers who will perform Hold Fast to Love by Al Harrison. At that time, you're welcome to come forward and light a candle of joy or concern. This morning's meditation reading was chosen by Reverend Danny with words by Trevor Noah. People always lecture the poor. Take responsibility for yourself. Make something of yourself. But with what raw materials are the poor given to make something of themselves? People love to say, give the man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. What they don't say is, and it would be nice if you gave him a fishing rod. That's part of the analogy that's missing. Hold fast to love, for it's not broken. Hold fast to love, it will endure. Hold fast to love, hold your heart open. For all this hurt, love is the cure. Hold fast to love,
it's staying.
Respect the ones who've lost their way. Hold fast to love. It shows the way clear, so we can face another day.
Hold fast to love, it's in our voices. Hold fast to love, it's in our hands. Love rises up to guide our choices. There is no storm love can withstand. Hold fast to love, for it's not broken. Hold fast to love, it will endure. Hold fast to love, hold your heart open for all this hurt. Love is the cure for all this hurt. Love is the cure.
We come now to the time in our service when we affirm the ways that we are connected in this life, as we live into the truth, and what affects one of us affects all of us. In a spirit of community care, let us open our hearts to one another and all that we hold sacred. First, we hold in our hearts today Michelle, who has a concern. Please keep my Minneapolis family and friends in your thoughts and prayers and hearts as they take to the streets, resisting and melting the ice. Through their resistant acts of humanity and kindness, today there is a planned singing vigil and march through the streets between 1 and 3 p.m. You're in our hearts, Michelle. We know that there are also sorrows among us too tender to share. We hold those in this space today with a reminder that you are never alone. Along the struggles and sorrows of this life, there is also joys to share, milestones, blessings, and celebrations of all kinds, for which we are moved to give thanks. This morning, we are delighted to have a joy from Catherine Cowley that Romina Maria Cowley was born last Wednesday at supper time. All are happy and healthy. Congratulations, Catherine. If you would like to have a joy, sorrow, or gratitude be shared with the larger congregation, you can do so by clicking the link on our homepage or by writing something in the binder at the side of the sanctuary. Sharing the tender moments in our life and witnessing one another is yet a part of building the web of beloved community. May we continue to hold space for this community care and share with courage and vulnerability. We will now hear from our speaker, Liz James.
Good morning. Thank you for having me back again. I remember well a year ago coming to tell you the story of the UU Hysterical Society, and I remember how much fun it was, and especially I remember the music. That was gorgeous. This morning I'm going to tell you a story that seems completely unrelated, but is, by the end of the rambling circuitous route, the story of Flaming Chalice International, which is the partner of the UU Hysterical Society. The stuff that our funny merchandise that we sell, all of the proceeds go to support that charity. And we will get to the administrative structure, but it's a bit of a rambling story to get there. When my friend Selesh was joining our congregation in Saskatoon 10 years ago, I was one of the committee members charged with orienting him to our congregation. Selesh grew up in the Maasai tribe in Kenya. He grew up exactly as many generations of Maasai before him did. No English, no reading, no writing, no electricity, unlimited exercise, time with friends, fresh air, sunshine. In early adulthood, he fell in love with a Canadian who was visiting, and they had a family, and that's how he eventually came to be in a church in the snowy depths of Canada, where we became friends. Now, I remember at the newcomer dinner when he was joining our church, showing him the chart of how our church works, because I felt it was important that he be well informed about our governance. Since Selesh grew up without reading and writing, he could sort of sound out words, but a big chart was a lot. So I pulled it out and I was like, this is the board and this is how we get the committee chairs and they oversee these parts, then we have these staff members and we have... And he listened patiently. I'm not sure if he was listening, he was quiet anyways. Then when I got to the end of my long diatribe, he shook his head and he said, nope. And I said, no, this is how we make our decisions. And he said, no. Usually the mothers make the decisions while you are watching the children and talking. I've seen you do it. I said, well, but there's also this, and I pointed to the chart. And he looked at it for a little bit longer, and then he said slowly, this looks like a lot of work. I explained that, well, yes, it is a lot of work, but it's important to create community. You don't have to do this for community, he said. How you have community is you bring the people together and they make a community. Many people make community without these committees. It was like he was trying to explain that 2 + 2 = 4 because that's what 4 is. It doesn't need a 4-making committee, it's just 4. So it was Selesh's turn to eventually to orient me when our family went with his for a visit to Kenya 10 years ago. The first thing Selesh did when it was his turn to teach me about the world was drive us to a plaque in the center of his village and haul us all out of the Jeep to stand around it. The plaque marked the death of a white tourist a few years ago. We read it, it was in English, and it told the story of a man waking in the early hours of the morning and heading out for a walk and being mauled by a wild elephant to death. The plaque, as I read it, was about the dangers of African elephants. Selesh saw the cause of death a little bit differently. He explained, this man had a Maasai guard with him, like you have a Maasai guard with you. This man did not listen to his Maasai guard, went for a walk and was killed immediately. When Muzungu people do not listen to their guard, they die right away. Muzungu is the word that they used for white people, and it really came in handy. Every time I couldn't see something like a nest of birds 3 feet from my face that my guide was pointing out, I would point to my eyes and say, Muzungu. Every time I did something silly, because common sense is kind of culturally specific, I would use that word, and they would all shrug like, what are you gonna do? A Muzungu could not be left unattended, except in their tent, with a guide standing outside to make sure they didn't do something crazy like go for a walk. I often wondered about my Maasai guard. He followed me everywhere, carrying a spear, just one sec. Carrying a spear that, to my eyes, was basically a pointy stick. His job was to protect me from lions, and he was paid reasonably well for it. At least he was paid well for a no-lion day. I couldn't shake the feeling that if a lion did approach, his wages would no longer be sufficient for his new duties. And I asked Selesh about this. How do we know he's not going to run away? I asked. Selesh looked at me like I had a cabbage for a head. You're under his protection, Selesh answered. Yeah, but he doesn't know me, he doesn't care about me, why would he? He's Maasai, Selesh answered. You're under his protection. There was a pause, and then Selesh repeated, he's Maasai, as though this should settle the matter. So that night, my sleep was interrupted by what I can only describe as a moaning, growling kerfuffle of noises. I was nestled in the tent that I had mentioned earlier. It was a very nice tent, nicest tent you've ever been in. This tent had a flush toilet and a bathtub. That said, the walls were still canvas. Thicker canvas than Canadian tents, sure, but not lion thick level canvas, probably not even scissors thick level canvas. I tried to tell myself that so long as I was in my tent, the lions could never know that I was there, but that took a lot of mental discipline. It wasn't just lions that had arrived. Some other creature was out there too, some new African creature I'd never heard before, making this terrified, mysterious bleating sound. And then there were the sounds of men, several men, yelling to each other in the local language. I lay frozen in my bed, the dark inside the canvas walls so absolute it felt like a damp washcloth over my face, and I swallowed my terror. In the morning, I learned that the mysterious new animal was, in fact, a cow. I said, cows in Canada don't make that noise, and Celeste said, cows in Canada aren't being attacked by lions. The cow had wandered away from the herd in a nearby village, and a team of Maasai men had tracked it. They found it eventually, but they found it at the same time as a lion found it. And the noises I heard were them successfully stepping between the cow and the lion and shooing it away with their weapons, which I cannot emphasize enough, were basically just pointy sticks. Lions are afraid of Maasai men. It did retreat. Celeste says this is how it usually goes. Lions are afraid of Maasai. They'll kill a Maasai warrior very rarely. Rarely? I repeated. As in not never? Not often, Celeste said, which is just another word for rarely. I couldn't imagine risking my life like that, I said. They're Maasai, Celeste answered. Like it was a complete sentence. A Maasai cannot give up on a cow. Suddenly, it all slid into place. It wasn't just about the one cow. Suddenly, my Muzungu eyes could see the big picture. It has been explained to me that the Maasai have survived for centuries through their reputation for bravery, self-sufficiency, and honor. Maasai never give up. And the fact that everybody knows this is one of their greatest assets. Lions do not tango with Maasai. The neighboring Kikuyu tribe usually does not tango with the Maasai. Even the Muzungus did not tango with the Maasai, and Muzungus tango with everybody. They did try, but when they did, Maasai struck back hard and then took their herd of cows and moved before reinforcements could arrive. And so the Maasai were never colonized, an accomplishment which has earned them admiration of people all over Africa. In modern times, Muzungus are not adversaries exactly. It's more complicated. They are a threat in some ways still, but they're also tourists who bring money which they exchange for a chance to look at wild animals in safety. And so, the Maasai reputation for bravery is still a communal asset. The reason my guard would protect me at all costs was because if one Maasai guard allows one tourist to die, everyone's reputation would suffer. The entire region's economy would be put into jeopardy. Everyone's livelihood was at stake. He'll protect me, I said, because I'm like a cow to him. Celeste nodded. A Maasai cannot give up his cow because a Maasai cannot give up his reputation and his independence. His Maasai identity is how generations of his people have survived. My Muzungu eyes were improving. Then I felt a cold knot forming in my stomach. Because I wasn't actually there as a tourist on safari, I was there working on behalf of a project. The Ultimo Well Project began with my home community raising money in partnership with our congregation for a well in Celeste's village. Over time, the well had grown into a garden and a community center, and there was a budding relationship between the two communities. And I was there as a part of that relationship to talk to the Maasai about some challenges to their way of life. In recent years, the Kenyan government had divided the land and deeded it to individual Maasai. Now they couldn't move to chase the rainy season, and this was taking a toll on their livestock, half of whom had died in the last year. Also, the Maasai population was growing, and finite land can't sustain a growing population, especially not on a livestock-based diet. Add to that the challenges of global warming, and it was clear that the outside world was finally reaching the Maasai, and they would need help in adapting. This had sounded so simple back in Saskatoon. As the saying goes, you give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, you teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. I was here to tell the Maasai that they needed new skills and teach them in their transformation. When the task was in front of me, though, it was totally different. I was just one more white person arriving to tell the Maasai how they needed to give up their cows and embrace the future. One more colonizer telling them this time it was different, which was what every colonizer before me had told them. And I was going to say this like I was some kind of expert, shadowed by this Maasai guard who had to keep me from trying to take a selfie with a lion cub or whatever Muzungu idiocy I might come up with. Teach them to fish? What kind of arrogance was that on my part? As we rode to the well on the site of as we rode to the well site on the day of the big meeting, I felt a new feeling of unease in my stomach. I found myself thinking back to the advice of my friend Mwibutsa, hoping to find something to hold on to. Reverend Mwibutsa Ndagijimana, who by the way used to be named Fulgence, if you know him by that name, has a long career working for charities in several countries in Africa. I had met with him and Celeste to discuss the trip before leaving Saskatoon. We each brought our own unique gifts to that conversation. Mwibutsa brought all kinds of experience in community and economic development, having worked with a variety of cultures in a variety of African countries. Celeste brought in-depth knowledge of the Maasai of the region that we were working with. And I brought, well, I know a lot about Robert's rules. I'm really good with a chart. There are not many statements you can make about Africa that are true all over that whole continent, but not a fan of Robert's rules might be one. So I mostly listened. And the meeting that unfolded was nothing like what I was used to. Mwibutsa asked question after question. He wanted details about everything from how the Maasai choose whose hut gets built where, to the ratios of goats to cows. He frequently expressed admiration for the Maasai, who are admired all over Africa. He mostly listened. At the end, when we asked for advice, Mwibutsa said, "The Maasai have always solved their own problems. The most important thing is for the Maasai to continue to know that they can solve their own problems. You need to listen and help as you are asked to help, in only the ways that you are asked to help." I thought about that during the Jeep ride. I thought about it as the women filed in for our meeting, as I cooed at the babies and sipped the tea. I observed every woman who arrived putting 10 shillings in the coffer. It was 20 if you were late. I asked questions through my translator and learned that the husbands take the money if women try to save up at home. So they have this investment club where they pool tiny amounts that each one gives, and then they buy one big thing, like a goat for one woman or school fees for a child. They each take turns being the recipient according to their need and their situation. It was easy to do, as Mwibutsa had said, to express admiration for the ingenuity and the perseverance of these women. It was harder to bring the conversation around to the subject of cows, especially because even with my Muzungu eyes, I could see I was not the person to teach these women how to fish. I did not know how to metaphorically fish in Africa. And then an older woman took a breath to speak. Everyone fell silent. I could tell it had been prearranged that she would be the one to tell me something they felt I needed to understand. The cows, she told me, are not working. There are too many people and not enough land or water. The herds are dying, and it's not going to work to live this way much longer. Of course they already knew. Of course. Maasai know cows. If my Muzungu eyes could see it, they already knew. We try to sell things at the market, the woman explained, but we have to borrow what we sell, and that's an expensive way to run a store. We know how to make beaded jewelry for tourists, but borrowing money for beads is expensive. We know how to make honey, and we have resorts willing to buy from us, but it costs money to make it sanitary for tourists and package it properly. We need you to talk to the white mothers and ask them to help us. Of course they had a plan. These women already know how to fish, they just didn't have any fishing rods. The amounts for each project the women were planning was in the hundreds of dollars. I wrote down their stories, took their pictures, and ran the simplest and easiest crowdfunding campaign of my life. I did as Mwibutsa had said. I helped in the ways I was asked to help, and only in those ways. It was their plan. So there's a couple reasons I'm telling you this story. One is to tell you more about the philosophy behind Flaming Chalice International and its work, because I think they are one of the most exciting stories in UUism today. Led by Mwibutsa, their board is made up of people born in Africa, with me being the only exception. Prior to working with Mwibutsa, I understood that being born in Canada gave me power that I wanted to wield wisely. I had worked with refugees and aid in one capacity or another for most of my life, and I have found that work to be surprisingly tricky. I often would fail to see something that should have been obvious, and when that would happen, I felt ashamed of my Muzungu eyes. Today, I cut that version of myself so much slack. How could I or anyone expect to make smart aid decisions about a whole other culture? It just doesn't make sense. The solution to unequal distributions of power isn't for the powerful to become superhumanly wise. The solution is to work towards a more equal distribution of power whenever we can, so that those with less experience a more just world, of course, but also so that those with more don't have to try to be superhuman. We're not going to understand every oppression and every context, and we're not going to choose perfectly. We're going to mess up some of the time, because that's what people do. I don't worry so much about making dumb suggestions as a Flaming Chalice International board member because of how the power is distributed. If I had a bad idea, if it came to it, I could just be outvoted. It wouldn't come to that. Because it is a majority African board, FCI's structure is very different from what I am used to. And one thing is there is not a ton of voting. We usually talk about the things and the right way to proceed becomes clear, and at the end of the meeting, we do motions and voting for the minutes, mostly because that's required by the Canadian government to keep our charitable status. Especially at the beginning, this part was often led by me. It was like, now that everything is decided, Liz, will you lead us through the ritual with the motions and the voting, and we will write it down so that the white people will be satisfied. Every time that happened, I found myself thinking back to the conversation I had with Salesh about how community doesn't need complex organizational structures and charts. I find myself thinking about meeting for coffee with Mwibutsa and Salesh before going to Kenya, and how differently their conversation was structured from what I am used to. A few years into my work with Mwibutsa, it became clear that the UU Hysterical Society, which I lead, was going to need a legal organization to support some of its work. I knew we couldn't afford the time and expense that goes with traditional UU structures, so I built our board modeled on FCI's leadership structure. A board on which, fun fact, that sentence. So I built our board modeled on FCI's leadership structure. Relying very heavily on Mwibutsa for help, we have a structure in which the processes are simpler, the task lists are stronger, and the task lists are shorter, and the relationships are stronger. We think of cross-cultural skills as a thing we need to develop so we can be better helpers. But I don't think that's it. It's not all of it anyways. It is also a strategic choice we make. The problems we face today can't be solved by using a limited set of perspectives. UU organizations are facing big structural struggles. Volunteers have less time and donors have less money. Legacy institutions like academia and media and church are under threat in society right now. We are in a cows are getting thinner moment as a faith. We need to make some changes in how we do things. Some of that is going to be culture shift. And I mean culture in the broadest sense. I mean nationality, sure, but also gender and sexual diversity and neurodiversity, all the things that we often talk about. But also even beyond that. For my work, I had to become fluent in content creator culture, and it is its own culture, and a little bit business culture, and create a church out of nothing culture, which Mwibutsa taught me how to do because that's how it's always done in Africa. Whoever is solving the problems we're facing, we need to know how to build strong connections with them. We need to think less about institutional strength and more about the ways that we are interconnected. We're having good conversations as UUs and in larger society about how to dismantle systems of racism and other oppressions, and I think that is the morally right thing to be doing. But it is also the strategic thing to be doing, to be building that intercultural competency. In a world of rapid change, solid skills in working with those who are different from us are going to be crucial. These connections will form a foundation for solutions we wouldn't be able to come up with on our own. Those connections saved Mwibutsa when he was stuck in that Burundian prison, imagining a chalice to get him through the night. They saved the Maasai women from what would have been very bad aid decisions made by yours truly if Mwibutsa hadn't consulted and coached with us. They saved my little UU Hysterical Society from a heavy churchy structures that wouldn't have suited us. We work in a rapidly changing world of social media, and we are more fragile than people realize. Our ability to work on very few resources and pivot quickly has saved us more than once. As UUs and as humans generally, we face complex problems. We will need a variety of perspectives to solve those problems. We cannot afford to see the world through only Muzungu eyes. We need to be guided by our connections to one another. And I'll invite you to join us in singing Building a New Way.
Stand as you're willing and able, and we'll build a new way together. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed every need. We can feed every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love that is our seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Our benediction today is in the words of Reverend Mwibutsa Ndagijimana. In Burundi, there is a proverb, one man can grind, but not the whole harvest. I made it through because others held the line with me and for me. I was not alone in the cell. I was not alone in the silence. We must never resist alone. We must never dream alone. Let us go out into the world guided by our connections to one another.
Okay, so we end the service. You've got some work to do.
As usual.
But first, let me provide some context. This song, Lead with Love, starts with the line, put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. I want to say that I am aware that this is ableist language, but I would like you, please, to keep in your mind that the song is about resilience, perseverance. So don't get stuck on the ableist language. Okay?
I'm thinking maybe everyone needs to stand up.
Those who are able, please.
Right?
Yep.
Willing and able, always. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine if you stay sitting as long as you join me clapping, maybe, if you feel it.
Okay, so one sec. Let me just teach them the lines.
Oh, I think
So I'm
they
going
know.
to break it down. You gotta put. Whoop. One foot in front of the other. One foot in front of the other. And lead with love. Put. And lead with love. Put. One foot in front of the other. And lead with love. We can do that one more time. You gotta put one foot in front. Okay. And lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other. And lead with love. Oh, we've got like the high school graduates here. You don't need me to line out things. That's very good. So let's try this. One other thing I need to say about this song. There's this quirky little additional part. And when I get there, stick with Rachel. Because you're going to sing.
I'm with you.
You're going to keep singing what you've been singing, but I'm going to put, and I should give a hazard warning. Don't try this at home.
So she's the call. We are the response.
You ready?
Yeah.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Don't you give up.
Don't you give up.
Keep moving on.
Keep moving on.
Lift up your eyes.
Lift up your eyes.
And don't you despair.
Don't you despair.
Look up ahead.
Look up ahead.
The path is near.
The path is near.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead.
Let's hear it.
Love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other.
That's it.
And lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. I know you're scared.
I know you're scared.
And I'm scared too.
And I'm scared too.
But here I am.
But here I am.
Right next to you.
Right next to you.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead.
I can't hear it.
Love. Put
Oh, there
one
it is.
foot in front of the other and lead with love.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other.
One foot in front
with love.
of
Put
the other.
one foot in front of the other.
One foot and lead.
I need
with
more.
love. You gotta put
One foot in front of the other.
one foot in front
With love.
of the other
Put
one. One foot,
in front
one
of the
foot,
other.
one foot, and lead with love. You gotta put one foot, one foot, one foot in front
with love.
of the
Put
other.
one foot in front of
one
the
foot,
other.
one foot, and lead with love.
Let's do that again. And
One foot, one foot, one foot, and lead with love. One foot, one foot, one foot, and lead with love. And lead with love.